Did anybody know what I said? Good morning. How are you all today? He did. But anyway, before we get started, let's take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Take your arms if you're sitting and just turn, 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 turn. From here this time, I want you just to roll your head if you can. Don't yank it. Since you're sitting, just take your feet and march. Thank you. That's to wake you up. That's to get the endorphins going in your brain. That's to get you thinking more. Honestly, I would be running. If I'm in the gym, I would be squatting. I would be doing push-ups. And yes, young guys, I could probably do as many push-ups as you can. Men's. But now let's talk. I am just so happy to be meeting Lamine. She's awesome. Staying with Rachel at her house. Usually I'm in a hotel. I don't do hotels well. And I'm just happy to be here after an 8-hour train ride here. But most thing I'm happy about is that the public schools, yes, I went to a public school. I was raised in the project, Parkway Projects. So I know where you're coming from. I have a lot in common. And I can remember the down times of my life. I remember one time I wanted to go to school so bad, we didn't have boots. And my mom said, y'all ain't going to school. I said, but I got perfect attendance and I want to go to school. She said, you shut that mouth up. Just shut it up right now. You ain't going to school. I said, please, please. And so finally, my sister had to do a test. She knew she was going to pass or fail, so she wanted to go to school. So my mom said, okay, y'all get your ass up now. Excuse me. So you know I'm from the city. You know I'm from the hood. I can relate. But anyway, you all get your butts up out here and you go to school. And you get sick, that's going to be your backside. So you know what I did? We didn't have boots. Went in the drawer, got the bread bag out, cut the top of it off, cut down the middle, put my socks on, took that bread bag, put it over my socks, slipped it down in my shoe, did the same thing, and off the Smith I was going. And yes, our classes were in the basement. Kids used to tease us and say the dungeon. And we didn't have much. How many of you saw the movie, the Loretta Claiborne story? None of you? Did you see the part where 5 girls was in one bed? Oh yeah. We had one bed. We lived in Parkway Projects, 5 girls, and the 2 boys had their room, Hank and Alan, and then my mom had her room. And we came up with nothing. I remember eating this cheese. And I had to laugh because that paper said, how do you cut a sandwich? Do you cut it down the middle? Or do you cut it catty corner to the side? And I said to Lamine, I said, man, this reminds me back in the day. Oh no, you don't cut it down the middle. Because my sister Debbie, she'll cut it down the middle and say it's the middle. And she got that big of a piece. And then she said, I cut it right, and I get this big of a piece. No. You want to cut that baby to the side if it's a square, because when you measure it up, guess what? Both sides come equal, come together. So as time went by, yes, Lamine was telling me about how she got teased in school. I'm hoping those days are over, but guess what? Welcome to America. They are not. They are not over. But I know for a fact, statistics says, because of you youth, you average students who are working with our students, you'll notice I won't say disability, with different abilities, come together and you activate and you work with our students and you find out that when you come in to working in an activation group like this, you think, oh, I'm going to work with these poor kids. Oh, they're suffering. No, we don't suffer. I don't have pain. One time a child asked me at school, says, and this is the term they used to say, do people with and then the kid would stop. And I said, I know what you mean, I understand what you mean. I said, no. I like to use the term, do people with different abilities have pain? No, we don't. The only pain we have is what we receive from our regular ed students who think they're better than us. And now this was years ago. Today, I am so glad that what we have today is youth activation groups. And as time went by, they told my mother, I don't know why you keep sending her to school. We have people like her that go away to school, that go to special school. Miss Claiborne, why are you fighting so hard for this child when you got 6 others at home? And I remember her sitting there looking. My mom was a big woman. Oh, she didn't take no crap from nobody. When she said something, she meant it. And when she put them arms behind that back, that big butt, and she would say, let me tell you something. Y'all might be running this school district, but let me tell you something. I got 6 children at home, it's true. And you trying to split me up for my 7th? It ain't happening. You got a special education class, Loretta deserves just as much to special education or to an education as my other. And you think she ain't gonna graduate? My dream is, my daughter's gonna graduate from William Penn Senior High School. Y'all might think it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you now, I might live in the project and I ain't got much. It's not how much you have, it's what you have and how you use it. I got 5 kids and my 5 girls sleep in one bed. But that doesn't mean I can't be their mother. And I got 6 children at home and 1 here. And you guess what? You're gonna educate all 7 of my children. My mom was a Eunice Kennedy Shriver. And I didn't know from a hill of beans who Eunice Kennedy Shriver was. No such thing. Special Olympics started in 1968. I started running around Parkway projects. And the rule was I could not leave the project because I would follow my brother Hank, who was very popular, short, stocky guy. And when he walked down the street, they say, yo, Hank the Tank. Hank was popular. He was short and he was muscle bound. And he didn't lift weights. He became a state champion. But Hank too had a disability, a hidden one. He stuttered. And also, Hank was a student of special education. But he became a U.S. Marine. His main dream was to go fight in the war. And that's what he wanted to do. And my mother was upset because she didn't want him to fight. But he wanted to represent his country. And he did. He didn't get to go to Vietnam because the war was declared over. I looked up at Hank because Hank was my bodyguard. He looked after me. He never let nobody bother me. But then there came a time when we had to separate. And I was going to school. And I'll never forget it. At York High, the true name of my school was William Penn Senior High School. I wanted to start a track team. There was a bunch of girls in this school, and they said, we want to have girls track. And oh yeah, for you young ladies, how many of you do sport? A lot of hands up. Did you know at one time, how many of you girls play basketball? You know, when I went to high school, we were not allowed to run full court basketball. We had to play half court. Half court. Now, what are you going to do? One basket, and you got 5 girls on the team shooting the ball. One of your boys can have the whole gym shooting the ball. Girls were not allowed to have teams. So when I went to York High, I wanted to help start the track team, where everybody knew in the school I had an intellectual disability. Back then I was the retarded kid. I don't like to use that term, but like my mom always said, how do you know where you're going when you don't know where you come from? History is very important. For those of you who don't like history, you should get to like it because you learn from it. You learn the good part of history, but you also should learn the bad so it's not repeated. So when I said at the time, they used to go, oh, you know that retarded girl? She always runs around the project. We ought to get her. We want to start a track team. So it comprised of certain things. They needed somebody to go around to all the teachers and the principal, Mr. Eckenroe, have a paper to be signed, make sure every teacher signs this paper. Can the girls practice in the hall and start a track team? All those girls stood around. They said, "Oh, Rhett, you want a track team, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, you got to go around and get all the teachers signed." So I would go to one teacher, Mrs. Hines, she would sign it. I'd go to another teacher, and I would catch people in the cafeteria. I'd give my lunch away. Go up, "Mr., can you sign my paper? Mr. Holt, can you sign my paper?" Had a whole paper. Now the challenge was to go to Mr. Eckenroe. I said, "Look, guys, I got all the signatures." He says, "Well, who's going to go to the principal?" "Oh, Rhett, you go to the principal." So I went to the principal, had all the signatures. So then they had to raise money for school student activities. The youth activation team is now supported through Special Olympics, Unified Champion Schools. So I go to the principal. My heart's beating. I knock on the door. I'm early for school. Finally, I'm standing there. Mr. Eckenroe comes out. I said, "Mr. Eckenroe, I got all the people to sign this paper. Could you sign that we can have a girls' track practice?" "Well, you know, girls are not allowed to do sports." Only thing we wanted was to have a group. So then we were allowed to practice in the hall for a half an hour before school ended. Well, then somebody got bold and said, "Oh, well, what about down at Smalls Field? The metal field that we called it in the city, the metal field. Well, that's reserved for the boys." So we got this teacher who took an interest in us, Mrs. Kasiba, and I'll never forget it. We go down, she says, "We want to show you after school. I want all of you to take your permission papers home to get them signed so we can watch the boys." My cousin ran on the team, so my mom didn't. She knew she ran on this team. So all of a sudden, we're standing there, and those girls said, "Oh, I don't know why you're here. We don't know Special Eddie's here." Mrs. Kasiba said, "Loretta deserves just as much right or more right than any of you to be here." It was her that sold the candy bars. It was her that went to the teacher. It was her that went to the principal. This was a teacher who I thought would only do this because she thought maybe I'll do this and it'll be over. That next year, Title IX was passed. Girls had the opportunity to participate in sport in school. By that time, Special Olympics had started. I didn't know nothing about it but going to school. And I was going to a school to work program, and the counselor noticed me. After having a bad day, I took a hammer to somebody. Yeah, that's how bad I was. You didn't look at me. As Mr. Dubs would say today to his wife, he said, "Hon, you see that Loretta there? You didn't want to be around her in school because a guy would look at her wrong and she would take him out of here. She was one mean kid." No, I didn't use my voice. You noticed I started with sign language. I was told I would never learn sign language. It's like a second language to me now. Because I didn't let nobody stop me. And I don't want you to let anyone stop you for what you're doing. Whether you have a different ability or not, you can lead. You have the best opportunity. And why I'm so happy I'm here is because I'm not out in suburbia. I'm out there talking to my brethren, my sisters, my young people who go to public inner city schools. A lot of these other systems look down at you, but you can rise up. You can rise up. Today, right here, I see students of all abilities becoming one. And if you don't think you can't go places as youth, you are the future. Whether you have a different challenge or not, you are the future. You can lead. I know what it's like to live a rough life. I got marks on my body. I was just talking to Lamine. I said, I could show you a scar on my arm and I could show you a scar on my leg. That's how much I wasn't wanted. But today, I know that the school system is changing. Unified Champion Schools. I never forget Tim Shriver and I, down in Washington, long before our society would even think of this, trenching the grounds of the Capitol. And one day, I'm walking, and I'm like looking at Tim saying, Mr. Tim, what do I do? This is a lot of walking. I came there, I had on dress shoes. Well, you do not walk Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. It's all marble. And I tell you what, one day I sat at the Capitol step, my feet were killing me. He says, oh, Loretta, you should have wore some black sneaker-like shoes. I said, but you told me that I'm supposed to be business casual, so I didn't bring my Reebok shoes. But I stepped them grounds, going to one senator, to another senator. Some of the senators wasn't there. Then all of a sudden, Tim and I, we finally finished it up. This was like in 2000. What we were asking the senators is, could you give us money to help students in school? And we had to prove and make sure that we had the right documentation so that if the senator asked me a question, well, how's this going to affect the money that we're going to give you? I said, you know, in our schools there's a lot of bullying against people who then have intellectual disabilities. And we like to change that. And the only way we could change it was with your support. In sport, international sport, in health. But they decided they wasn't going to do international sport. And I thought, you know what? My mom always said to me, clean up your own backyard before you go to somebody else's. Let's work here in the United States and get our students to be more receptive of people with intellectual and different challenges. And today, what do I see? 24 years later, youth activation, Unified Champion Schools. And when I say youth activation, it's you students who have regular abilities with students who have different abilities come together as one and work together for a future, a better future. A lot of times, our schools that I come to talk to are private schools or academies. I very rarely ever had this chance to come to schools that were like us, who came from the projects, who are not looked at as the smartest or the brightest students. Don't ever let nobody tell you that you cannot be anything that you choose to be. You could be I'm probably sitting here, probably talking to one of the students with an intellectual disability or without an intellectual disability who will one day be here at Suffolk working. Suffolk, depends on where you're from in this country, how it's said. In the South, it would be Suffolk. In the North, it would be Suffolk. You never know with the powers that you have. You could do anything you want to do. Like I used to tell students in school, what do you want to be? And a student would say to me, I want to be a basketball player. And I would look at the students and said, well, you want to be a basketball player, you want to be a scientist, this young lady wants to be a stockbroker. I said, that's great. I said, always have your backup. And the kids will put up their hands, what's the backup? Well, you have your dream of what you want to be. Let's go to the basketball player. He does well in school, he gets into college, he gets hurt. He doesn't make the NBA. He's the best basketball player out there. And then all of a sudden he gets hurt. So he has no backup plan because he didn't think about his education. And that's what I used to tell young people. Do you all wear a pair of jeans? And they would look at me and they say, yeah. How many pockets is in a pair of jeans? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I said, nope, there's 5 pockets. But Miss Claiborne, count your pockets on your jeans. Who got a pair of jeans on here? And I would look at the kid, and they'll look at their jeans. How many pockets do you have on your jeans, buddy?
5.
Because you got that little slit pocket, right? Little pocket right here that like you can put your money in that you don't want nobody to know that you got.
Yeah.
If you have a pair of blue jeans on, normally they have 5 pockets. And this little pocket is called your hip pocket. And getting back to the basketball player, in his hip pocket should be his education. Because he got hurt in college. Now he knows he's not going to make the NBA. He can go back on his education and possibly look for another career because he got that education. You as youth, activators, who work in these programs in the public school, showcase what you can do. It's not just on the field. It's not just the gold medal. It's more than that. It's the power of what you have. And those of you, how many seniors we have in here? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Several seniors. As you become, this is your last year, you seniors, this is your commitment and job. It's January. June, you're going to be out of school. You're going to go to college. You're going to go to work. You should be preparing somebody to take your role next year. Being a youth activator, you are a youth leader. And good leaders will make the sacrifice in order to get the gain. I thought I could never do anything. My mother was told, oh, she'll never go beyond middle school. I don't know why you even educate her. My mom's dreams were fulfilled. I did graduate from high school. Did I go to college? No, I didn't. But I have 3 honorary doctorate degrees from 3 universities. That wasn't supposed to happen. But I know through good people in my life who helped me trek that road, and I don't like to talk education, but I got to say this. I say it in every prayer. Nothing comes before me, between me, but that man above. Through the strength and the power that he's given me to drive on. I had 2 chances in life, 2 choices in life. I could have sat at home. I remember being told one time, why do you want to work? Why do you want to do what you do? You can sit at home and get everything free. I said, because I want freedom. I want to be able to make a difference. Who would have thought that I would be able to get 3 honorary doctorate degrees? With my bad legs, I used to wear braces. Who would have thought that I would run a 3:03 Boston Marathon right here in this city? Boston! You park your car. Is that the lingo of Boston? You park that car, park the car. I love to hear Bostonians talk. But guess what? Oh, them doggone Patriots, they beat my doggone Steelers all the time. I'm tired of that. But that's all right. You're all in the toilet bowl with us in football, but it's all good. It's all fun. And being a youth activation, right now, you're making a difference. Those of you who are in regular ed classes, you're making a difference in the students that you work with. So I'm hoping as leaders that you look down, you seniors should look down. You should have a cheer or a tier, as I would say. If you watch an infomercial, there used to be an infomercial and these ladies sold products. So what they would do to get known, they would tell you, I want you to go out and sell X amount of makeup, then get 2 of your friends to sell X amount of makeup, and then you get points. And then your 2 friends get other 2 people to make makeup, and then you figure it out, there's 10 of you. Then all of a sudden, you win a prize. Well, we're not here to win prizes. We're here to make a difference. We're activating. We're activating our communities. We are activating public schools here in Boston or Massachusetts, that each and every one of you can make a difference. Each and every one of you can lead. Activate means to start. Get the car started, you put the key in, you activate the engine. To me, as you students, it's more than just to start. It's to keep the drive going. to be leaders. And as you go on, those of you, somebody in this crowd is going to be somebody who means something to somebody else, each and every one of you. And when you activate and you get it started, then the ball gets rolling. Tim Shriver and I stomped the grounds of the Capitol for days to get these senators, these politicians to give money to something that's making a difference. And we know now that Unified Champion Schools are working. I had the opportunity to speak to the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, in the country where it's viewed different than here. I was afraid when I got there, but you know what I said to myself? Loretta, pick your heart up off the ground, put it in your chest where it belongs, and do what you're supposed to do. I'm not Muslim, but when I went there, I bought my own abaya, that's the dress. I bought my own hijab. I went to the mosque. I met many people. Then I met the Crown Prince. And I was asked to come back 2 more times. And I'm supposed to go back in 2024, but because of the times we're having in that region, I probably won't go back this year. But if they ever ask me to come back again, they asked me last year when I was in Germany to come back. And I looked at that team, I said, I'll be there if God's willing. And I looked at him, inshallah, if God's willing, I will be there. Well, I won't be there in 2024. But if I can go back and take that 15-hour plane ride again, which I do not like planes, I'm going to do it. Not for Loretta. I want to be the activator that Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, who is now president of that country, who wants me to come back. He wants to make a difference. You know what they refer to people as? Who have different challenges? People of determination. And I thought he only did that for the games that when they came there in 2019. I thought it was going to end. When that group of people came to me back in June and stood in front of me in Germany and says, Loretta, we want you to come back to Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And I found out now the Crown Prince is now president of Abu Dhabi. They still to this day refer to their people as people of determination. And his number one goal is to take their students who have different needs out of private schools and put them in public schools so that they too have the same opportunity and can learn on their own and one day be trained to have jobs just like everybody else. We're a community. Boston's a community. I talked to Lo Ming. She used to work in the store. She's looking for a job. She got 3 job interviews this week. And I'm proud of her because she's going out there and she wants to be a leader. She wants to do her on her own. She could sit home. She can get welfare. She can get food stamps. She can do everything. She doesn't want that. And I don't blame her. She's a leader. You are leaders. And that's what we look for. And you can make Boston Public Schools rise. And it's up to you. You are the future. Don't let nobody ever tell you what you can't do. Like Eunice Kennedy Shriver one day told me as I was down the office and I was walking out. And she looked at me and she says, Loretta, what are you doing? In her broad voice and Boston voice. I'm trying to catch this Greyhound bus home. I'm looking at my watch. It's at 2 o'clock. Wow, I didn't ask you that. We talked on the phone the other night. I said, yes, we did. And she would never let me call her Mrs. Shriver. I was raised that you always refer to somebody as Mrs. Shriver, not Eunice, but she wouldn't have it. She wouldn't have it. You call me Eunice, we're friends, as she would say to me. I just asking you, where you heading again? I said, I'm trying to get home. She goes, well, I thought maybe you would stay here for 2 weeks and help my son with his campaign. I was like, campaign? Oh, I know how to vote and that's it, I'm done. I couldn't say anything. Don't tell me what you can't do. You show me what you can do. I looked at this lady. I didn't think those words would ever hit me. You hear me, Loretta? These are the only clothes I brought because I was only going to come here just to switch into these clothes and switch out. She said, that's all right, Loretta, we'll take care of you. I would get the kids sweatpants, put them on, put on a t-shirt, get a collared shirt. We would go out, and I end up being there 2 weeks. That's what a leader does. They're not afraid to make a sacrifice. And that's what you are doing here in Boston schools. You're making a sacrifice so that others can make a gain, and you too. So now, I'm going to close it up, and I want you to ask me questions. Because you know what? I'm not just here to teach you. I'm here to learn from you. And as one would say, a wise one asks a question while a fool will argue with the fact. And I know I don't have no fools here. And I hope you have many questions. Thank you. Spasiba. Vielen Dank. Thank you.